You sent us something really thought-provoking this time around, an essay from 2021 called The Anti-Renaissance.
Mm.
And it throws this, well, fascinating, maybe even a little unsettling light on what's happening right now in digital art, especially, with NFTs. It does make you wonder if the sheer, volume and speed of creation play a role. It feels like new projects, new collections, they're just popping up constantly.
Hmm.
Could that rapid pace be kind of at odds with the more deliberate, maybe more philosophical approach we connect with past art movements?
That's a really good point. And then the essay layers another fascinating idea on top, the concept of the fourth turning.
Ah, from the book, right?
Exactly, the book of the same name. This theory basically proposes that history moves in these cyclical patterns, and one phase is a winter, or a kind of dark age.
Okay, so the author of the Anti-Renaissance is kind of positioning our current moment within that winter phase. How does that cyclical view connect with this anti-Renaissance idea in digital art? It feels like he's seeing a pattern.
Precisely. If you buy into this cyclical view, then the characteristics of this winter, things like, societal upheaval, questioning old norms, maybe a shift in values, those could be reflected in our art.
Makes sense.
So the rise of NFTs, with its disruption of traditional art markets, its focus on digital scarcity, that could be seen as a cultural symptom, maybe of this broader historical cycle.
Yeah.
A reflection of a potential dark age in cultural values.
It's almost like built into us to look for these kinds of cycles, isn't it? We see them everywhere. Nature, relationships, we're always trying to make sense of the big picture by finding these patterns.
Yeah, the essay definitely touches on that human tendency. But what's really interesting, I think, is that it doesn't just present this cycle as predetermined fate. It poses a pretty crucial question. Do we just have to get swept along by these cycles? Or do we actually have the agency, the ability to shape a different future? That's a key point for you, the listener, to consider, right? Are these trends inevitable, or can we influence where they go?
That leads us nicely into the role of philosophy in art. The author makes a really strong case that a big part of making art is, well, deeply connected to philosophy. Can you break down how the essay links those two?
The author essentially argues that creating meaningful art isn't just a technical thing. It takes a deliberate process, time, effort, bringing an idea to life.
Right, the craft.
But just as important, in their view, is the underlying philosophical framework that shapes the artist's choices. It's about the artist engaging with bigger ideas, beliefs, questions about the world, and embedding those consciously or not into the work itself.
So it's not only about how it looks, it's about the ideas it carries, the perspective it offers. Okay, so given that, does the essay suggest that this philosophical depth is always, present in the current digital art scene, especially with NFTs popping up so fast?
Well, the essay definitely raises some doubts there.
Yeah.
And to illustrate the point, the author brings up Andy Warhol's computer piece from '85 or '86. It's a deliberately provocative example, I think.
Right, the essay pulls no punches, calls it piece of crap. What's the author's reasoning for using that specific Warhol piece when talking about an anti-Renaissance?
The author's point seems to be that Warhol created this digital piece relatively quickly, suggesting maybe it didn't involve the same kind of prolonged creation, the deep philosophical wrestling that they see as essential.
Okay.
But maybe more significantly, the essay argues its popularity wasn't really driven by its inherent artistic merit or philosophical depth. It was mostly Warhol's existing fame, the name, not necessarily the nuanced artistic statement.
Okay, so the underlying worry in the anti-Renaissance essay is that in this dark underworld of digital art, maybe factors like popularity, hype, the artist's existing status, maybe those things are overshadowing more traditional artistic values.
Like what?
Like genuine aesthetic innovation, the underlying philosophy, maybe even a sense of spirituality, or just deep creative exploration. The speed and ease of digital creation, plus the dynamics of online attention, could be sort of shifting the priorities away from that.
Precisely. The essay suggests that in this kind of environment, what gets traction, what goes viral, might not always be what offers the most profound artistic or intellectual substance. And this connects directly back to why you probably found this essay interesting, right? It encourages us to look past the surface noise, the hype, and ask deeper questions about the values really driving this whole digital art movement.
So if we try to boil down the central conflict here, from the essay's perspective, it seems to be this tension between, on one hand, what the author sees as maybe more superficial drivers popularity, hype in the current digital art world. And on the other hand, those more, let's say, profound artistic values, aesthetics, philosophy, deeper meaning that were maybe more central to movements like the Renaissance, it definitely casts a unique, almost critical light on things.
And it's important, I think, to remember this isn't necessarily a blanket dismissal of all digital art or NFTs.
Yeah.
It's a specific viewpoint, right? A particular lens to analyze these trends through.
Yeah, it's one interpretation.
It just prompts us to consider what we as a culture are actually valuing and prioritizing in this really rapidly changing artistic space.
So to kind of wrap up this deep dive into the anti-Renaissance, the core idea is that these current digital art trends, particularly NFTs, could be seen as a move away from the values we link with the Renaissance,
Right.
instead of Enlightenment spiritual elevation. This perspective suggests a shift towards a potentially, well, darker, maybe less intellectually or spiritually driven digital realm, where popularity and market forces might be taking priority over those deeper artistic considerations.
Which really raises a crucial question for you, the listener. As you look at digital art and tech trends, do you actually see evidence of this dark underworld the essay describes? What do you think are the main forces shaping this landscape? And if a metaphor resonates at all, what kind of artistic and cultural future do you think might emerge from it?